sudden bodily pain, but he otherwise maintained his self-command. "And mankind is envious and ill-natured, more particularly in and about the garrisons. I sometimes wish, Jasper, that Mabel could have taken a fancy to you. I do, and that you had taken a fancy to her, for it often seems to me that one like you, after all, might make her happier than I ever can."
"We will not talk about this, Pathfinder," interrupted Jasper hoarsely and impatiently. "You will be Mabel's husband, and it is not right to speak of any one else in that character. As for me, I shall take Master Cap's advice, and try and make a man of myself by seeing what is to be done on the salt water."
"You, Jasper Western! You quit the lakes, the forests, and the lines, and this, too, for the towns and wasty ways of the settlements, and a little difference in the taste of the water! Haven't we the salt licks, if salt is necessary to you? And oughtn't man to be satisfied with what contents the other creatures of God? I counted on you, Jasper, I counted on you, I did, and thought, now that Mabel and I intend to dwell in a cabin of our own, that some day you might be tempted to choose a companion too, and come and settle in our neighborhood. There is a beautiful spot, about 50 miles west of the garrison, that I had chosen in my mind for my own place of abode, and there is an excellent harbor about 10 leagues this side of it, where you could run in and out with the cutter at any leisure minute; and I'd even fancied you and your wife in possession of the one place, and Mabel and I in possession of the other. We should be just a healthy hunt apart, and if the Lord ever intends any of his creatures to be happy on earth, none could be happier than we four."
"You forget, my friend,"
answered Jasper, taking the guide's hand and forcing a friendly smile,
"that I have no fourth person to love and cherish, and I much doubt if I ever shall love any other as I love you and Mabel."
"Thank you, boy. I thank you with all my heart; but what you call love for Mabel is only friendship like, and a very different thing from what I feel. Now, instead of sleeping as sound as nature at midnight, as I used to could, I dream nightly of Mabel Dunham. The young does sport before me, and when I raise killdeer, in order to take a little venison, the animals look back, and it seems as if they all had Mabel's sweet countenance laughing in my face, and looking as if they said, 'Shoot me if you dare.' Then I hear her soft voice calling out among the birds as they sing, and no later than the last nap I took, I bethought me, in fancy, of going over the Niagara, holding Mabel in my arms, rather than part from her. The bitterest moments I've ever known were them in which the devil, or some Mingo conjurer perhaps, has just put into my head to fancy in dreams that Mabel is lost to me by some unaccountable calamity, either by changefulness or by violence."
"Oh, Pathfinder, if you think this so bitter in a dream, what must it be to one who feels its reality, and knows it all to be true, 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 so true as to leave no hope, to leave nothing but despair?"
These words burst from Jasper as a fluid pours from the vessel that has been suddenly broken. They were uttered involuntarily, almost unconsciously, but with a truth and feeling that carried with them the instant conviction of their deep sincerity. Pathfinder started, gazed at his friend for full a minute like one bewildered, and then it was that, in despite of all his simplicity, the truth gleamed upon him. All know how corroborating proofs crowd upon the mind as soon as it catches a direct clue to any hitherto unsuspected fact, how rapidly the thoughts flow and premises tend to their just conclusions under such circumstances. Our hero was so confiding by nature, so just, and so much disposed to imagine that all his friends wished him the same happiness as he wished them, that, until this unfortunate moment, a suspicion of Jasper's attachment for Mabel had never been awakened in his bosom. He was, however, now too experienced in the emotions which characterized the passion, and the burst of feeling in his companion was too violent and too natural to leave any further doubt on the subject. The feeling that first followed this change of opinion was one of deep humility, and exquisite pain. He bethought him of Jasper's youth, his higher claims to personal appearance, and all the general probabilities that such a suitor would be more agreeable to Mabel than he could possibly be himself. Then the noble rectitude of mind, for which the man was so distinguished, asserted its power. It was sustained by his rebuked manner of thinking of himself, and all that habitual deference for the rights and feelings of others which appeared to be inbred in his very nature. Taking the arm of Jasper, he led him to a log, where he compelled the young man to seat himself by a sort of irresistible exercise of his iron muscles, and where he placed himself at his side. The instant his feelings had found vent, Eau douce was both alarmed at and ashamed of their violence. He would have given all he possessed on earth could the last 3 minutes be recalled, but he was too frank by disposition, and too much accustomed to deal ingenuously by his friend, to think a moment of attempting further concealment, or of any evasion of the explanation that he knew was about to be demanded. Even while he trembled in anticipation of what was about to follow, he never contemplated equivocation. "Jasper," Pathfinder commenced, in a tone so solemn as to thrill on every nerve in his listener's body, "this has surprised me. You have kinder feelings towards Mabel than I had thought, and unless my own mistaken vanity and conceit have cruelly deceived me, I pity you, boy, from my soul I do. Yes, I think I know how to pity any one who has set his heart on a creature like Mabel, unless he sees a prospect of her regarding him as he regards her. This matter must be cleared up, Eau douce, as the Delawares say, until there shall not be a cloud atween us." "What clearing up can it want, Pathfinder? I love Mabel Dunham, and Mabel Dunham does not love me. She prefers you for a husband, and the wisest thing I can do is to go off at once to the salt water and try to forget you both." "Forget me, Jasper! That would be a punishment I don't deserve. But how do you know that Mabel prefers me? How do you know it, lad? To me it seems impossible like." "Is she not to marry you, and would Mabel marry a man she does not love?" "She has been hard urged by the Sergeant, she has, and a dutiful child may have found it difficult to withstand the wishes of a dying parent. Have you ever told Mabel that you preferred her, Jasper, that you bore her these feelings?" "Never, Pathfinder. I would not do you that wrong." "I believe you, lad. I do believe you, and I think you would now go off to the salt water and let the scent die with you. But this must not be. Mabel shall hear all, and she shall have her own way. If my heart breaks in the trial, she shall. No words have ever passed atween you then, Jasper?" "Nothing of account, nothing direct. Still, I will own all my foolishness, Pathfinder, for I ought to own it to a generous friend like you, and there will be an end of it. You know how young people understand each other, or think they understand each other, without always speaking out in plain speech, and get to know each other's thoughts, or to think they know them, by means of 100 little ways." "Not I, Jasper, not I," truly answered the guide; for, sooth to say, his advances had never been met with any of that sweet and precious encouragement which silently marks the course of sympathy united to passion. "Not I, Jasper. I know nothing of all this. Mabel has always treated me fairly, and said what she has had to say, in speech as plain as tongue could tell it." "You have had the pleasure of hearing her say that she loved you, Pathfinder?" "Why, no, Jasper, not just that in words. She has told me that we never could, never ought to be married, that she was not good enough for me, though she did say that she honored me and respected me. But then the Sergeant said it was always so with the youthful and timid, that her mother did so, and said so afore her, and that I ought to be satisfied if she would consent on any terms to marry me, and therefore I have concluded that all was right, I have." In spite of all his friendship for the successful wooer, in spite of all his honest, sincere wishes for his happiness.